All right, welcome everyone. This video lecture is the format that I use to present all the course material for the semester. I do this because I feel email just doesn't, it's a great tool to have, but it's really hard to write out a long email that people will pay attention to. Let me quickly switch these down so you can see as far as light. Um, so you will notice that I use these video lectures for each unit as a way to introduce that specific unit. But this video lecture is an introduction to the course, an introduction to me as an instructor, to iLearn, to the assignments, to my policies, and just to give you a little bit more of a broad overview of the course. So let's get started. So welcome to Child Development. This is Child 210, Section 9 for the winter semester at BYU, Idaho. And it's a great class. I love teaching child development. This will be my 6th semester teaching it. And I love that each semester, each time I do it, there are things that stand out to me or that are extremely applicable to me that weren't only 4 months prior. Just because life changes, and even if you're not in a place right now where you have kids in your home, whether you're younger and not married or not have children at this time, or you're older and maybe you have grandchildren who come and visit, this information is vital to understand and to implement into your life. So let's get started. All right, so as I said, this presentation is going to go over 3 things. One, a little bit about me, so you get to know who I am, not just a person that sends emails and reminds you to turn in assignments, that I'm actually a person on the other side of the computer. About my family, I want you guys to know a little bit more about my family, again, to make me a little bit more personable. And then the big chunk that we'll spend this lecture on is about the course. So let's dig in. So about me, I live about an hour south of Houston in Texas. We've lived here for almost 4 years now. When my husband graduated from BYU, I joined the church in Wisconsin when I was 18. That's where I grew up. And my best friend in high school was a member and introduced me to the church. And then my senior year, I joined. As far as education goes, I completed my bachelor's degree at BYU in Provo in recreation management, and then I completed my master's degree online through the University of Southern Mississippi, and I have my master's degree in family and child studies. So aside from education, my work experience, I directed a YMCA camp for several years and loved camp. I look forward, I get to go to girls camp this summer and I'm looking forward to being back in the camp environment. I also worked throughout college. I worked at a treatment center for children and adolescents with severe behavioral disorders and concerns, issues that had some struggling times with behaviors, extreme behaviors. And that was in Springville, Utah, so just south of Provo. And then now I've been teaching at BYU, Idaho for 2 years. And then I stay home with my kids. So here are some pictures of me, so you see what I look like. We support BYU in this home. All of us, my kids, have BYU shirts. My daughter knows the fight song. So we are diehard BYU fans. There's a picture of my graduation with my master's degree a couple of years ago. And then a picture from Spain. My husband and I went to Spain a couple of years ago too, and enjoyed that. All right, so about my family. My husband and I met at BYU in 2010, and we got married that same year in the Manti, Utah temple. We have 2 children, so here's some pictures of us. He is a chemical engineer down here in Houston. He's what brought us, his job is what brought us to this area. And I don't think we'll ever leave. These are our kids. Ashton is right here. She's 3.5 almost. And then Tanner is turning 1 uh, January 16th. So he is almost 1. But I included this picture because I like our family pictures, but this is not normal life, these two pictures, but this one down here is. Any chance to get wet, my kids are there. And this was taken November, and it was like 70 degrees out, and there was sprinklers, so it was awesome. But these are my kids. Like I said, I stay home with them. I love it most days, most moments. Um, but it's a great opportunity to have. And with child development, I love to see the textbook, our reading, the material we cover. I love seeing it in my life every day. That I see my children develop, and they follow pretty typical development. So it's great. All right, let's get into the meat of this presentation, the course. This course is organized a little bit differently than most other courses at BYU Idaho. We are organized into units instead of weeks. So some courses will have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and so forth. This course isn't like that. We have units that last 2.5 weeks. So it's a little confusing because the due dates change. It's not every Thursday, it's not every Monday. One unit will be due on a Thursday, then 2.5 weeks later, the next unit is due on a Monday. And then 2.5 weeks later, it's due on another Thursday. So there is a course schedule outlined on iLearn that we'll go over with the due dates that I've entered in. I also send several emails. I post several announcements with the due date. iLearn tells you the due dates. So hopefully with all of that, you won't miss a due date. But just keep in mind that it's a little bit different organization than probably what you're used to because we run on units instead of weeks. Next, the course assignments. So each unit, we have 5 units in this course, and each unit has the exact same assignments. So once we get through the first unit, you guys it'll be great. You'll understand it all for the remaining 4, but the first one can be sort of a little tricky to work through as you understand how the course is set up. So there's 5 assignments. There's reading quizzes for each chapter that we cover in that unit in the textbook. Then there's an assignment called the Dear Abby letters. We'll go over these in a little bit more detail. A reflective journal, a collaborative quest, which is a fancy word for discussion board. You'll have a discussion board with your peers of about 8 to 10 people in each discussion board. And then observations and development. This assignment, I like this one the best because you watch videos and then apply the course material to it. It's one thing to read all about the development in the textbook and to understand that part of it, but then to be able to see it applied, to see an actual 4-year-old show those developmental skills is helpful as a student to internalize those things, to really see them in action. That it's not just this imaginary idea, but to actually see it happening in a child. So as I said, we'll go into iLearn. We'll look at all these assignments in more detail. I want to move on here. The course policies. So I do accept late work up to 5 days after the due date, but for each day, 10% is deducted. So if it's 1 day late, the best you can get is a 90%. 2 days late, 80%. I will say, even if it's 5 days late, some points are better than none. 50% of the points is a whole lot better than 0. So please work on getting those assignments in. A forgiveness policy. I understand that life is crazy. I get that. Your kids are sick. You had to go home to see your parents for a weekend that you weren't expecting, or maybe you just completely forgot a due date. I get that. And so I do allow each student to use an extension one time in the semester. You need to email me before the due date. It's not after the due date, 4 days later, oh, can I turn in my assignments? No, you need to be proactive about it. So contact me before the due date, and you can have a one-time extension of an additional 5 days with no penalty on late work. Next, I do provide feedback and grading for all the assignments. The policy is that I will grade assignments within 7 days. Typically, I'm able to get them done a little bit faster than that, but the policy is within 7 days. Proofreading your assignments, please proofread. You're in college, and I require that you write at a college level. So if I'm reading your assignment and I can barely understand because of the grammatical errors or the spelling errors or sentence structure, this is not a text message. This is not a letter to a friend. This is an assignment to a college instructor. So please write as if that is the case. I don't want informal text messaging words that you may use, especially in your emails as well. This is preparing you for a professional career, and your emails need to be in a professional manner. My grading policies, we'll go over this in a little bit more detail. Okay, so let's stop here. I'm going to exit out of this presentation. I'm going to go into iLearn. This will look a little bit different once I add the announcement here. But this is subsection 9 of child development. I am viewing this as a student, so this should be what you see. This isn't the instructor side of it. So if you're new to iLearn 3, it's quite a bit different than iLearn 2, but hopefully BYU Idaho has made the transition in all their classes, so hopefully you had a semester to adjust to iLearn 3. If not, let me know and I can help you out a little bit more with that. So this is this content. So let's go a little bit over all of these tabs. So content is where the bulk of the class materials are. All the units that we cover, all the chapters, all the assignments, things like that. The discussion board, or discussions, is where all the discussions are listed. So you'll see this questions and conversations is just a general board. If you have any questions about the course, you can either email me or you can write it on here and I'll respond as well. This U01 stands for Unit 1, Collaborative Quest Discussion. So this would be where you post for your first unit discussion board. Then you see U02, that's Unit 2, Unit 3, and so forth, and it goes on. Under the quizzes, there's all the quizzes that are listed. You can access the quizzes this way, but they're also available under the content. And I think in the content tab, they're more organized as far as what you need to read before taking these quizzes. So we'll get into that. Then the assignments is where you submit your assignment. When you've completed it, you upload from your computer. And then the calendar is not used very much. Yeah, it's pretty much obsolete. And then your grades and class list, email, things like that. So let's go on under content. And let me back up to okay, so this is the overview page. Here is my contact information, so right under overview, as well as my virtual office hours that I hold. And then if you go to course schedule, welcome, there is a schedule, as I mentioned, that has the due dates. So here's Unit 1, all the assignments that are due, and the due date when it's by January 26th. And it continues that for the 4 other units as well as the final exam. Go back to the welcome. There's also a syllabus as well as the university policies and some resources for you. In the introduction tab, there's some of the same links, but then there's also a pretest to take. This is not graded, it's not required. It's simply helpful for me to realize what areas of the subject matter the students struggle in a little bit more than others. And that helps me to be able to focus on what I need to teach with more clarity or more information. So let's begin Unit 1. Basically, you're just going to work through each tab and open it up, and there's some information for you. There's a video to watch here. You go back to Unit 1. So then you begin Chapter 1. These chapters correlate with the chapters in the textbook. So Chapter 1, you read the introduction, the learning objectives. the fact or fictions. Then you take the fact or fiction. Know that the fact or fiction is not graded. It is excluded from your final grade. And then you're going to open each of these and go read, read those pages. And there's some of these will have short videos for you to watch. Like this one right here has a video for you to watch in addition to reading some of the pages in the textbook. Then at the end of each chapter, there's what's called a reading check or a reading quiz, and these are graded. So keep that in mind, but you can use your textbook, it's open notes, and you get 3 attempts to take it, and iLearn takes your highest score out of those 3. So once you complete chapter 1, then you'll go into chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 4. And you'll notice that they look very similar in what they look like. Then, when you do your unit activities, unit 1 activities, this is where all the assignments are found. So you'll see the collaborative quest discussion, the Dear Abby letters, the observations and development, and the reflective journal. When we begin Unit 1, I will have an additional video lecture that goes into these assignments in a lot more detail. Right now, I just want to do an overview. So let me open up the Dear Abby letters. This is what the Dear Abby letters looks like. Just a bunch of letters. Dear Abby letters are letters that are written to the newspaper asking for advice. So these typically are parents or siblings, family members asking for advice about a child, a situation. So you would respond to these letters. There are some guidelines in the directions. You need to pick 3 letters from each chapter. So you'll notice chapter or letter 1, letter 2, letter 3, letter 4 from chapter 2. You're required to pick 3 out of the 4 and answer them. So there should be 9 total responses because there's 3 chapters in each Dear Abby letter assignment. So with those 9 responses, you are required to meet a minimum word count of 2,200 words. So if your document doesn't have 2,200 words, then you're going to lose points. Now you notice right here, this document already has 1,100. So total cumulative with all the words that are already here, plus your responses, the requirement is 2,200. Trust me, it's really easy to meet. It's pretty low expectation, but it is there to make sure that you answer the question fully. So this is what the Dear Abby letters looks like. Let's go into the reflective journal. So these reflective journal questions are found on iLearn. If we go back to chapter 1 and you open up the first little section, it says to read these pages, and then it says journal number 1. And if you sit there going, well, what do I do with this? You'll notice that this journal number 1 correlates with the journal question, with the reflective journal assignment, and they need to update this. But it will, when they update it, it will coordinate with that. And once you complete that, then you'll go to the next section, and you'll see, once again, you'll read these pages and then answer this question on the reflective journal assignment. So that's where that is. Then the last assignment is the observations and development. So they give you a link to watch and then some questions to answer, and then another link. And this assignment changes each unit depending. Some have 1 or 2 videos, some have a few more to watch, different questions, but all of them include videos to watch and to apply to the course material. So those are the assignments. Let's go back. Sorry, I'm looking for the right one here. Okay, so grading policies. For the Dear Abby letters, as I said, you do have a minimum word requirement. Otherwise, it's 50 points unless I feel like you did not answer every part of the question or the letter. The reflective journals are also worth 50 points total. Each question has a different point value associated with it, depending on how in-depth the question is or how many questions there are. Then the observations and development is 25 points. The discussion board is 10 points. If you make a late post, it's minus 2 points. If so, the discussion board, there's two parts of it. One is your initial post, so your post that you make about the topic. The other part is that you respond to at least 2 of your peers before the due date. So if you only do one, then you only have 5 points. You only get 50%. They should be substantial. You can't just say, that's a great point, and that's all you write. They need to be more thoughtful than that, put more effort into it. So if they're non-substantial, then you will lose 3 points. They don't have to be really lengthy, but just make sure that you add something to the discussion, that you're building upon the discussion board. All right, let me go into some helpful points with this course. My biggest one is do not procrastinate. If you do not manage your time well in this course, you will struggle immensely. This course has a lot more work than other online courses, at least what my students have said in past semesters. And so you need to be on top of it. You cannot wait until the day of to begin working on it. You will struggle a lot. I would invite you to spend the first week or two of this course reading the instructions, understanding, asking questions, because once we get underway and once a due date is pending, it gets even more stressful if you're still trying to understand the course. As I mentioned, there is the minimum word requirement for the Dear Abby letters. Just keep that in mind. I sort of showed you how to do the reflective journal. So the easiest way to do this unit or this course is my recommendation is to work on the reflective journal assignment as you go through all those different chapters and sections on iLearn. And then once you complete the reflective journal question and you've read all the pages in the textbook and you've done all the reading checks and you watch all the videos, then you're really ready to go to the Dear Abby letters and the observations and development because you've read all the course material. You're aware of it all. So that's the most efficient way to use your time for this. Ask questions. Please shoot me a text, send me an email, post on the discussion board early and often. It's okay. It always takes a few weeks to get things going in this course, and that's okay. I invite you to actively participate in the discussion boards. If you're going to do the bare minimum, then you're going to receive the bare minimum as far as knowledge and course application. So the more you participate, the better it is for you. I will have office hours upon request, so I can meet in a virtual office so we can talk face to face essentially. I can share my screen. You can share your screen so I can see what questions you have. I can work through that with you. So those are available upon request. Just shoot me an email and I will be glad to schedule that in when it's convenient for you. So communication with this course. I will post a video lecture on the start date of each unit that will go over the unit. I'll go through some of the assignment questions that have tricked students in the past, or that, not necessarily tricked, but just catch students off a little bit. I will also be participating in the discussion boards regularly, so you'll see my posts in response to you. I have office hours, and you can email me or text me. You can call me too. I have to wait until my kids are sleeping to call you back, or else it's too noisy, but you can call me and leave a message, and I'll get back to you. All right, lastly, with each video lecture, I do a gospel application, typically with a Mormon message that I feel is really applicable. This is probably my favorite Mormon message because I feel the Spirit very strongly every time I watch this. This video, a little preface to this with child development. One thing that this course has done for me is strengthen my testimony of Heavenly Father as a parent. As I have become a parent over the last 3.5 years, I have grown closer to my Heavenly Father because we now share some perspective in parenting. That just like I desire my daughter and son to reach their potential, to choose happiness, to marry in the temple, to serve missions that they desire, things like that, that our Heavenly Father has similar similar feelings about our potential, that he sees us as who we can become and wants that for us and is molding us, just like I let my daughter learn some really hard lessons. I know it's for the best. I know it's for her good. And I think it's the same. I know it's the same for our Heavenly Father. And as I study child development with you every semester, my testimony of our creation, of knowing that Heavenly Father is aware of raising us as His children. His job isn't done. That He is still parenting us. But I think it's really powerful to that. So we're gonna watch this, and then we'll close right after that.
I'm awake. I remember him. I gaze upon them before I part. They lie in their bed, unaware of me watching. I leave, they sleep. The small home I help provide is their world. They play, they explore, learning to move, to feel, to see, to know. Not once thinking how it all came to be. Crayons, toys, books, it's all for them. The fridge opens, the pantry exposed. They expect food to be there. Not a thought, not a doubt, just hunger. Cereal, milk, yogurt, messy fingers, messy faces, all fed. Tummies are full. Now it's nap time. My wife likes nap time. Once again, they lay in the comfort we provide. All while I work. I'm far but close. Always thinking of them. My phone rings. I only hear breathing. I smile. My wife's phone is now missing. I do it all for them. I work that they may grow. They trust so deeply. How I yearn to do the same. They see so little of how it all came to be. Never questioning, only trusting. I come home, 2-second hugs. Now I'm a horse. We eat dinner, brush teeth. Jammy time. Finally, it's bedtime. Once again, they lay their heads on the pillows we provide. I will be their protector. I will be their gentle friend. I will be my wife's faithful husband. I am a father. I am also a son. And while I may not understand all that he does for me, I do know that all that I am and all that I have is because he's a father to me. I now stand very aware of how it all came to be.
Okay, so once again, I invite you this semester that I know you will learn an immense amount of child development knowledge, that you will learn the developmental stages that a child goes through and the intricacies of each of those stages. But I also desire and hope that it will strengthen your testimony not only as a child of God, but as His role, as Heavenly Father's role as a parent. Um, that we each go through a spiritual developmental process to become like Him. That as we learn more about His children, that we can love them more, whether they're our own children, whether they're children that we work with through a church calling, through our profession, or perhaps in an extended family, or your family that you will have one day. That you will gain a stronger testimony of your role as a child, but also His role as a parent. All right, lastly, to end with, here's my contact information again. It is available on iLearn, as well as an email that I'll send out to everyone. But email, call me, text me. As I said, email and text is always faster with me. But welcome to the course. I'm excited to begin this semester and get to know all of you in the discussion boards. Send me an email if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to help you out with that. Good luck, everyone.